Oh, I don't see it on my end.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's good today. My name is Kathy Sorbara. Today I have with me Laura Anderson, and we're both Cheeky helpers, part of Team Cheeky, and we provide a lot of the advice that you hear as part of the association private group. And we decided to come on today to continue the theme of resumes this month and to talk to you a little bit about resume layout, why it's important, and what are the key components of the resume layout that you should think about when you're applying for industry jobs. So I thought we'd just get started, Laura. Maybe you can talk to us about why PhDs should care about their resume layout. Isn't it more about what's actually inside the resume itself?
Good question. So the resume layout is quite important because it's, the first thing that you see as you look at the resume, and it's easy to discard a resume that does not have a professional touch very quickly. So it's really important to give that first good impression, and straight after that to then lay it out in a way that it's very easy to decipher the information within it. Industry, human resource departments or recruiters are accustomed to reading resumes, and they know where they want to go quickly to find the information that they're looking for. So it's important that the layout is accurate and is exactly what they're anticipating. So you're basically handing them what they're looking for. So one of the first things that is really important with the resume layout is that the font is consistent and that it's not cluttered with different types of fonts or italics and bold and things like that. If you keep it as simple as possible, that's where you get a lot of impact, and it's much easier to read, it's much easier to scan. And the next thing is you want to make sure all of your margins are vertically aligned, or all of the start of your sentences and paragraphs, they're all vertically aligned on both the left and the right. And that just gives it a very good overall neatness about it, which shows that you are able to pay enough attention to detail on your resume as you would on the job. So it's basically a mini reflection of how you would perform on the job. And so if you don't put that extra effort in, it is often seen that, you haven't put in the research to find out what a proper resume would look like. Mm-hmm. Another important thing would be the summary. So the summary is important just to give the three main bullet points in regards to the most important information you want to convey. So the very first bullet, you want to make sure that you convey anything that's targeted to the role. So the highest and best use of the information that you have that is targeted to that role. So it would include both soft skills and hard skills that are specific to that role. The next bullet you want to do in the layout, again, is specific to the technical skills, and then that third bullet is about the soft skills. But sticking on the topic of the layout, you also want to make sure that there's a lot of white space, so it's also easy to scan over.
So maybe we'll just back up a bit, because this is a ton of great information. So first of all, your resume is an impression that you make on the hiring manager or the recruiter or human resources, whoever is reading it, right? So if it's sloppy, if things are not aligned, if you're using different font sizes, then you're giving a bad impression that you're disorganized, just as your resume is disorganized. At the same time, right, and I know Isaiah has mentioned this a lot of times, is that your resume will be scanned, they'll take no longer than 7 seconds to read it. So if it's overcrowded and if you don't have that white space, they're not going to be able to find what they're looking for quickly. And so they just won't bother, because there'll be so many other resumes that they'll have to get through. So that white space is so important. And Laura even touched on the summary. So that's the very first part of your resume. And that will be kind of the visual center for your resume. So the eyes will go from your name to the summary. And there you want to hit on the key transferable skills and the key technical skills as they relate to the position that you're applying for. So that's great. And we actually got a comment. Someone asked, when does a resume need to be less than a page? So maybe you can talk about how long a resume should be in general, and why that is.
Okay, so a resume should always be 2 pages. Well, not always. In 99% of cases, it will be 2 pages. So most industry resumes, 2 pages. Don't, if you've got anything longer than that, it's too long. You need to cut it back. And anything shorter, then it shows that you haven't got enough information on that resume to include. The exception to that rule is for management consulting. For the big firms in management consulting, you would only have a 1-page resume. For everyone else, it's the 2 pages. And you want to fill those 2 pages with the most relevant information. Don't cut it short and have 1.5 pages, because again, it looks like you don't have enough skill for that particular job. So there is a skill in choosing the right information and the right amount of information to put into that resume. Too much looks like you are advertising that you're available and that you are experienced for too many different jobs. It's too much information. I've even heard a recruiter make a joke that they don't weigh the resumes, they only read them. So you definitely only want to stick to 2 there. And again, you don't want to have just 1 page, because there's enough information from your experience to tailor it to that position and fill 2 pages. So stick to that.
Perfect. And we have another question from Barbara, who asked, for the summary, is it better to have bullet points or a sentence? Can you comment on that one more?
Yeah, it's a bullet point is the way to go. There is a specific structure to the bullet point, so you don't want to just think historically into your past and all your academic experience, and you don't want to just list that as experience and you don't want to list it as tasks in your experience. So what you actually want to do is think about the future. What job are you targeting? What is the position that you're targeting? And tailor your bullets to that job instead of tailoring it to what you did in your past. It's not a summary of your entire past. If you covered everything in your past, you would again be advertising that you are not the best candidate for the role, because you're advertising too many different aspects. You want to really narrow down that focus and just make it so specific to the job that you're targeting. So to be specific, if you were targeting an application scientist role where you have a high focus on customer service and educating people in industry or scientists in industry on a specific piece of equipment, you would want to start talking about your experience teaching others, mentoring others, or adult education. So you pick that specific experience from your past and tailor it and drop it into that resume, because it's specific to that role that you're targeting. So that bullet then becomes structured in saying the specific skill that you want to tell them about that's relevant to the role, and then give them that experience that you've had to support, as supporting evidence to show that you have used that skill in the past, and not just used it, but that you're very good at it, very experienced at it. So you don't want to just say lecturer for 2 years. You want to say experienced lecturer or experienced in adult education, so that you're always positioning yourself as an expert, and that is conveyed in the language that you choose in your resume. So choose it wisely.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks, Laura. And the last thing I just wanted to touch on is the components that make up the format of your resume. So we talked about the summary. That's the first thing on your resume right after your name. So maybe we can quickly just go through how everything is formatted after that. So what's after the summary? Where should you put things like your work experience, your technical skills, your education? What's kind of the basic layout structure of a typical 2-page industry resume?
Okay, so yes, you start with that summary. There's 3 bullets that really capture the attention straight away, so that they can basically screen you and see if you qualify for the role in terms of your degree and things like that. But what you want to do then is list your experience, and then your education, and then do a couple columns of technical skills, again, that are only specific to the role that you're targeting. Cut out anything that's not relevant. And then thereafter, you can do sort of a multi-heading. It would include affiliations, organizations that you might be part of, as well as hobbies. and the importance of doing hobbies in the context of a PhD transitioning to industry is that you want to show the person behind the work. You want to show the personality through. You want to show them that you're not just 100% theory-based, that you have another side to you. Mm-hmm. So it's really important in this context to put hobbies that are team-orientated, say that you're part of a basketball team or a, some sort of helping on your kids' soccer team or something like that, something that's team-orientated, to show that you've worked in teams and that you seek out teams is important too. It's something that also gives you an edge. That's also important to show. Maybe you do street roller hockey or something like that. That's a bit different, and that again gives them a point to talk to you about and to engage with you and see your personality. And again, that's something that's very powerful. If you're a good cook or a good baker, you might make a mean curry or specialize in pastries, and I think that's always good in the office. Everyone wants a good pastry chef in their office. So that's always going to be a winning thing. But in terms of the layout, that's how you lay it out. By putting your hobby there at the very end, it's sort of adding that nice cherry on the top. So do lay it out in that way so that you have maximum effect.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing I'll add to that is you don't need to be overly creative in terms of the format. I know a lot of people like to or feel like they need to switch things up and be a bit different than the rest, be a bit fancy with their formatting. But it's not really the place, especially for STEM PhDs that are looking for industry roles. You're not going into the creative industry, so you really want to make it simple and make it easy for them to find what they were looking for, which we reiterated at the top of this video. Was there anything else, Laura, that you wanted to add?
Yeah, there is a thing called standard business formatting. When you're creating a letter in business, there is a standard format that is there to be followed, and I think that applies to resumes as well. They do expect, as to follow on what you were saying, they do expect that standard resume format, and not something too creative. So it's you keep it professional but not over the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Laura.
No worries. Thank you.
Live with me. And the only other thing I would say is that if you have any more questions about resumes, actually in about 45 minutes, Isaiah is going to be doing a public webinar on industry resumes. I'll put the link in this post. So if you have more questions, feel free to join in, and Isaiah will be more than happy to cover them. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.